What is up, fam? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and I'm super excited to bring you guys another Broken Arrow pre-race episode. This one's going to be for the VK and the 23K, and this one will not disappoint. I am joined by one of the most talented athletes to probably ever race the race, joined by Jade Belzberg. Super excited to get to catch up with Jade and talk to her about her race. Jade has come very close to hitting some absolute crazy home runs. Second place at the VK in 2023, which we all know how difficult that is given how stacked these fields are, as well as second place at the 23K in 2024, which is an even crazier accomplishment, as well as a top 10 finish at the VK last year. So yeah, super excited to get to catch up with Jade, to see where she's at in her build and just her excitement and stoke level for these races. Yeah, I caught up with Jade. She was already kind of in the Truckee area, preparing for her race. I know we're recording this on I recorded this on a Tuesday, and race is going to be, the VK is going to be, I should say Ascent, is going to be on Friday. So it's fun to get to catch up with her, kind of see where the build is, excitement level, and just, what experience she can draw from going into this race and, what the expectations are for herself. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Excited to have Jade back on the podcast at some point in time for a long form one. Like I said, one of the most talented, accomplished athletes at this race, possibly to ever do it, given just, how high the level of performance that she's put on in the last few years. So without further ado, none other than Miss Jade Belzberg. Jade Belzberg, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm doing the rounds with everyone for the Broken Arrow interviews. Super excited to finally have you on the pod and get a chat going. Yeah, you obviously don't know this, but the reason I messaged you is because you were so highly requested to have you on the pod. I had 4 people message me. So.
That's nice to hear. I'm kind of surprised, but that is very nice.
You're popular. You're popular. How's your day going? How's your race week kind of going so far?
Yeah, it's good. We got we're here in Truckee right now, kind of staying above Donner Lake. Just because altitude is not something that I've traditionally been great at. So hoping, a couple days beforehand, it'll be a week, helps me out somewhat, but it's nice to be here.
I love to hear it. Well, I got to ask you about this just because I don't want to go too deep into the weeds, just right off the bat, but it's so interesting to me that you say something like that about altitude, but you've had so much success in the VK, which is such a VO2 related type of race where altitude kind of matters, how you adapt well to it. How did you sleep in altitude tents before? What do you attribute to all the success, going into some of these races?
I feel like for Broken Arrow specifically, it's been fitness. I mean, I've done Speed Goat 50K twice, and I would consider both those races the absolute worst races I've ever done. Those were just totally miserable for me. I dropped out of Worlds in Austria in 2023 because of altitude stuff. So it is something I've struggled with. Sometimes I feel like VKs, they're definitely VO2 max tests, but they're short enough where it doesn't feel as awful.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously, I appreciate you're so kind in summing it up, but yeah, it's just been so exciting over the last few years to kind of watch your races and just kind of where everything's unfolded for you. So
thanks.
Yeah. So let's get into Broken Arrow a little bit. I know this is these courses in particular are not something that's foreign to you. You've raced a lot of these in the past. Just maybe talk about kind of your experience with the race. Maybe talk a little bit about what's your favorite moment? Your favorite moment out of the years that you've raced it?
Absolute favorite moment was probably the first year I did the Triple Crown. I was training for Angeles Crest 100 and thought it'd be a great stimulus. And it was my dad who came out here with me, and he's not into running or outdoors or anything like this. And it was still so cool to have him out here supporting me every single day after all of those events. So that was definitely the best moment. In terms of races, I can't really beat last year's, probably the 23K. That was a surprise to a lot of people, and it was a surprise to myself too. So both those events.
Okay. All right. What's the stoke? I kind of asked you a little bit of this before, but the stoke level and excitement, for racing this year, what are you most excited for going in? Because I feel like more eyes are going to be on these races this year. The Ascent, the 23K, the 46K. This is the biggest week of Broken Arrow we've ever had.
Yeah, it just keeps getting more and more competitive. Last year I thought, wow, these fields are so deep, and somehow this year is even more so, especially with with the ascent race, and then 46K being the Team USA qualifiers. I think I'm excited for the race because of that. It's really fun to be racing people I would never have dreamed I could race against in the past. If you told me this like even 5 years ago, I'd be like, there is no way these people would be like hours ahead of me on anything. And so it's pretty cool just to be here as a means of kind of understanding my own progress. I think that's exciting in and of itself.
That's a good answer. How's the build been so far? Like, how's the taper going? How's been the training block? Like, any hiccups or everything been pretty solid?
It's been really solid. Yeah, I feel pretty blessed too. I've been completely injury free in my running career.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
So jealous.
Yeah, I seem to. I do quite well doing big races and then kind of like using that as a way to launch myself into further fitness. So I did chucking up 50K, gorge 100K, till like burn 50. Weirdly, all as a build towards Broken Arrow. So kind of curious to see how that works this year. I think it's going to work in my favor, but you never know.
What's your expectation for yourself on race day?
Oh, I don't think I have an expectation. I've learned not to. I mean, I know that I can have a strong performance. I also know that I'm not granted that on any given day, and I don't know how the other athletes are going to show up. I do feel fitter than last year. I feel more confident in myself, but you never know what kind of day you're going to have.
So true. That's a very healthy way of approaching it. Like, I talk to so many people that are like, it's when they make it like do or die. And I guess like for some people that really works. For me, I don't know if that works so well. Like it's more so just be kind to yourself a little bit more. And it's like, well, obviously I've worked really hard, and like I'm just trying to be within my capabilities and see what happens. It's like more of that. Whereas like, man, like going out and like slaying, like I have to be on the podium. It's like, whew, that's a high expectation to put out there.
That's the thing. Like it's such a long way to fall when you don't make it. And I also think that if you do make it, it just builds into further expectation next time. Like, okay, I was on the podium or I won this race. That means that I'm supposed to win the next race. And I don't think that's so great long term.
Yeah, no, I think so. Like I said, super healthy way to approach it. I want to talk a little bit about Gorge. Like you had it. Awesome race day out in Gorge. Obviously, you didn't get the red, white, and blue ticket because you can't take one, right?
Right.
But mixing it up with the Americans, and having like seeing the best, I guess, in the long course that we have, some of the best that we have to throw out there. Like, how did that dynamic play out for you? Like, how was that type of race? Maybe talk about the experience overall.
Yeah, I think that was another kind of surprise race. I should probably not continue to be surprised at myself this many times. But it was cool. Like 100Ks are races that I haven't traditionally felt super strong at. So that was a really nice way to show myself like, wow, I can actually be pretty darn competitive here. I wasn't super focused on like taking those top two spots because like you say, I can't qualify for both Team Canada and Team USA. And at this point I've chosen Team Canada. But it did give me a lot of motivation going, or not motivation, I guess more, it makes me feel quite confident going into Worlds, knowing that I can compete against the American team, which is obviously very strong.
No, I think it's I think it's a good way to put it. And forgive me, I wasn't sure if you. So I thought you could. I was going off information from Worlds. You could compete as an American too, right? Or just as a Canadian?
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. I feel like I confuse everyone. So I'm a citizen of both countries, so I could represent both, but apparently there has to be a 2-year washout period. So now that I've gone with Team Canada for 2025, if I were to qualify for Team USA, I'd have to wait till 2027.
Super cool. How did you qualify? Did you race the long course, or what are you specifically racing for Worlds in Canada? Just because they don't make that information superly available. I probably should ask you before we had the interview.
No worries. So I won and set the course record at Squamish 50K.
Okay.
And that was the Canadian Trail Running Championships. And then I took 2 seconds at the Canadian Mountain Running Championships for the vertical, and then the Classic Up Down.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where Remy and Dan were. Okay. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was, I almost went to that race. That was a sweet, like the whole setup of that day, like very cool course, very cool, like just vibe that they put on. So
Yeah, I was really impressed. I'd never run out in Quebec before, so that was cool. And it wasn't at altitude, so I was happy.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you one thing. You have a lot of range as an athlete. You're so good at the VK and like some of these shorter, like really high intensity, maybe sub ultra race if you want to call it. But also like you've had a lot of success, at the ultras and at maybe some of those we would call middle distance races with like the marathon, maybe that 46K if you will, distance. Like, what do you contribute to that success? Would you say more training? Would you say maybe genetics? Like what do you think as far, because some people just aren't very good at ultras but can be very good at sub ultra, so, or vice versa?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's training at this point. I mean, I've been running ultras since 2014, so I feel like I have the like logistical side of the longer stuff figured out. It was just sort of bridging the gap with fitness. I don't feel like I'm super talented genetically. Like no one runs in my family. No one's into this. I was last at every trail race or track race that I did growing up. I just think it's like being able to stack a lot of bricks over time. And I feel sort of like in the last year or two, I'm finally reaping the rewards of just miles and miles and miles and miles.
Consistency. Are you a high mileage kind of person?
Yeah, I've built up to that over time. I'm like 80 to 90 miles a week with quite a bit of vert.
Okay, that's pretty solid. That's not bad. Do you do a lot of cross training at all? Do you spend time on the bike? Do you ski? Like, no?
No. I'll occasionally bike. But I'd rather be doing other things. If I'm not running, I'd rather be gardening or hanging out with my animals.
Fair enough. I see your dog in the background there hanging out.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of our dogs.
What's his or her name?
That's Cashew.
Cashew. Shout out to Cashew. There we go. That's cool. I love that Cashew made the trip for the race. That's so cool. We bring our dogs everywhere. Like,
that's sweet.
We're on a trip right now, and I have my dogs with me. And
that's nice. Yeah, fun. We have our we brought our 3 rats as well. They're downstairs.
So cool. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I feel like you gotta travel with the animals. It just makes it more fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the race.
For the 23K though, I'm gonna be probably pretty similar to last year. I feel like a lot of women went out very, very hard and they paid for it at the end. So I'd kind of like to play a similar game. This year, I feel like it worked well for me and I feel stronger on the climbing than last year. So hopefully I can be a little bit closer to the front at that point.
Sorry about that. How does the course is funny too. Like I've never felt like the course is particularly technical. I feel like it's all super runnable.
Yeah.
Do you think that's more like, what's more your strength? More obviously with the VK and just your strength and seeing you just crush these VKs and stuff like that. Like you've had a lot of success. Would you say the climbing is more your strength or the descending?
I would say climbing, but then last year it was definitely the descent because that's where I caught like 5 women. Yeah. This year I feel more confident in my descent, so I almost feel like they're a little bit equal, which is nice. It feels good to be in that place.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
What's your take on the fact that it's a Golden Trail Series race? Does that change anything? Like obviously there's a little more to it. Like will you race any? I was going to get to this a little bit later about like rest of schedule, but like will you race any more Golden Trail races or?
Yeah, originally that was the plan this year, and then I missed signing up for like the official Golden Trail Elite sign up thing. And so then they told me, no, you're just on your own. So then I had to go and try to get into every Golden Trail race unattached to Golden Trail, and that was a disaster. So I've kind of changed plans, and this is so far my only Golden Trail race of the year. But I do like it in terms of, I mean, now we're bringing like international competition. Obviously with Joyce there last year, there was a lot of good international competition there too, but now it's even more so. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out. I've not raced internationally, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I got to ask you another VK question. I'm sorry. Like, VK is such an interesting race, right? Like, I know people think that it's like just like VO2 from the start, but I've heard from so many people, like it's so much smarter to almost be a little more conservative, and because Broken Arrow is unique, right? Like it starts off in that like weird ski hill with kind of plants and stuff like that, and then kind of funnels out onto the road. Like, and it's always a mass start with a bunch of pandemonia. Like, how do you kind of hold back a little bit and then save it for once you hit the top of that to charge charge more? Or like, how do you approach that strategically?
Yeah, good question. So last year, I think I was a little bit overconfident going in because I had placed second in 2023. And the reason I think that I placed second behind Anna Gibson was because the course was changed because there was so much snow. So we were essentially just like routed straight up a super steep snow chute. And I think my biggest strength with VKs are climbing very, very hard. Just more than running, as much as I can climb really steep grades, that's what I'm good at. Last year, when the course was back to its normal route, I realized there's a lot more actual running involved, including some downhills, and I charged out way too hard at the start, thinking I could just, that's how the race was going to be straight up. So I think like at the top of that weird, first hill where you're going through all of the flowers,
Yeah.
I was like right with Joyce ahead of Anna Gibson and all the women that would finish 8 places ahead of me. So that was a big mistake. This year, I'm going to hold back a little bit in the hopes that I can kind of overpower some of them in the later stages.
I think that's a really smart way to approach it. Like and it's interesting. Like they keep changing this course. It always starts in the same stupid place, in my opinion. I don't know why they started in like, it's like I wouldn't say it's a field, but it's like I said, there's plants there. It's so weird.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
It's so strange. And then it's like I said, it's mass pandemonium, but it's interesting like that it was much more runnable last year versus in previous years with, just the ability to kind of get out of that, like this in the snow, kind of in that snow chute, if you will. This one, I think this year again has another like small descent in there, or like a nice like chunk of a descent, if you will, which is so weird.
Yeah, I think it's the exact same course as last year because we ran it on Sunday, and I was kind of disappointed to see that, honestly.
Yeah. I think it might be a little bit longer. I think they might.
Okay.
I think it might be a tiny bit longer because does it end on the descent again or no?
I mean, like it still ends in the same spot. Yeah, you definitely do the same 2 descents. But there is like a descent like right at the beginning, which I find weird, and then like several like very, very shallow grade sections, which is kind of unique to like a traditional VK.
Yeah. I hope they change it back in the next few years, like to make it more VK-ish.
Straight up, yeah. That's what I want as well.
Do you ever do the rut VK? Because that one,
no, I'd really like to though. Yeah,
that one's proper. I feel like we need more like proper VKs and just in North America in general. It would be much cooler.
Yeah, I'd like to do more.
What's the race day shoe going to be for both? Do you have like different shoes for different races? Or have you thought that one through?
Yeah, I'm gonna wear the Ultra Mont Blanc carbons for both races.
Okay.
Yeah, those have been really comfortable for me, and it's nice finally wearing a carbon plated shoe for trails.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe talk about that shoe a little bit. I don't think I've ever played around with them. Is it very stable? Like, what do you like so much about it besides maybe the carbon?
Yeah, it's 0 drop and quite stable, and I really like that I can feel the ground. Not a big fan of shoes with a high stack height, and I feel like I can twist an ankle at any moment. And I feel like the latter half of the 23K, especially like you're kind of coming down that technical descent, I really want to be confident in my foot placement there. So those have been great. Plus they're lightweight, which I always appreciate.
Cool. And what's the nutrition strategy like for this? It's weird. I feel like it's going to be like cold this week, or not cold, but like cool-ish.
Yeah.
Does that change the nutrition strategy, especially for the 23K?
No, it'll be the same. I think I did a 30-gram gel in like the first hour and then a 30-gram caffeinated gel in the second hour. I might bump up a little bit higher this time. I feel like I could have used more. So that's the plan so far. VK, I might just take a gel like right before the start, but nothing during.
Cool. And then I'd say for the ascent, expectations for that, do you have any, like, is it like, what would it mean to you to beat some of these women, like something like that, especially because like you're very close to, like it's just a good tune up for you, especially going into something like Worlds, and then the 23K, like there's high expectations for that too, I would imagine. Like how do you kind of put that?
Yeah, I try not to get too attached to it, just for like my long-term athletic identity, just feeling good about myself, because you never know what can happen. I just try to ground myself in the place of being really excited to just be being able to compete against these women. I mean, it is a marker being up with these people, because I know what they're capable of. I know what they've accomplished. And I think that's really cool, but I'm coming at it from such a different world that I try to hold it really lightly too.
No, I appreciate that. I like it. Well, listen, Jade, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. This will come out in the next few days, starting to get as many of them out there as possible, so that way we can do all the pre-race interviews. So I really appreciate your time and wishing you the absolute best of luck on race day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. What's up, guys? It's summer, and you know what that means. You're going to need a new pack, hydration solution, bottle, belt, you name it. Guess what? Ultimate Direction's got you covered. Guys, I don't know if you've been perusing on the Ultimate Direction site lately, but we've got 2 new vests that have just dropped. That's going to be the Ultra Vest 12 liter and the Race Vest 6 liter in 2 beautiful colorways. And you know what? Guess what? We also dropped a quiver. Finally, the quiver is here. The quiver is there. Get it on the website right now. Use code SteepStuffPod for 25% off. All of these things are already extremely affordably priced. I think Ultimate Direction does an amazing job at their pricing to make it affordable for athletes of all economic abilities. And guess what? You're going to get yourself an additional 25% off by using code SteepStuffPod. Like I said, it's summer. It's Broken Arrow week. It's crazy. That's the vibes are high. The stoke is high. You're going to need a new vest. You're going to need a hydration solution. Like I said, go to Ultimate Direction. They've got you covered. 25% off with the code SteepStuffPod, and you are all set out the door. So, guys, enjoy your week. It's Broken Arrow week. Go crazy, go wild. Guess what? Next week is TrailCon, and then we are in Western states. This is the best few weeks of our sport. So, it's wild. Woo!